Podcasting from the top of the rocks. This is News on the Rocks with Patty Steele and Wayne Cabot.
You know, I thought I had here a breathalyzer. Right?
Actually, that would not be a good idea. No, that would not be a bad idea
my
for
son
us.
ordered one on meh.com, meh.com.
You gotta
I
say
recommend
it the right
it.
way, not meh.com like dad. Say
Everything
meh.
there, meh. They give you 2 for 1. So he said, I got 2. Here, take one. I'm like, okay. And I had...
a martini?
Over a course of 3 hours, I had 2 beers.
Oh.
And a little sip of something. And I blew a .08.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're 6'20"
Yeah.
or something. How
Yeah,
tall
6'20".
are you?
I'm 6'20".
Yeah.
I'm 4'20". 6'7".
He's 6'7".
Yeah.
You're 6'7".
So what would that mean for me?
That would mean that
A beer over the course of 3 hours.
If I breathe on you, you're going to fail.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm going to chalk it up as defective. I already threw it out. So Robert Sinclair Jr. is here from AAA. He's going to tell me why we shouldn't drink and drive. And of course we shouldn't drink and drive. That's why you want to have one of these things, so you know
whether or not you're going to blow .08 when
exactly.
they pull you over, right?
Know what your limit is. Know what you can safely do, so you are generous to yourself and others.
Wow.
See, now that's what I forgot to bring, because I sat down with our traffic safety instructors, and I said, if there were a set of, say, 10 rules of the road that regularly get broken according to your observation, what would they be? And we came up with 12.
Oh.
And the first one was, do not consume any alcohol. Or drugs before driving. And we have our DIP class, Driver Improvement Program. DIP doesn't sound like a good thing.
Yeah,
but
DIP.
Driver Improvement Program. And the instructors tell them, they're refresher courses. You get points taken off your license, or you get a discount on your insurance if you take the course. And the instructors tell the audience, if you want to drink, drink. If you want to smoke, it's legal in your state, smoke. Just don't drive afterwards.
So what does afterwards mean? Because it sounds to me like it's a lot longer afterwards than I would have thought.
Well, for smoking, I've heard 2 hours. I don't know if that's
longer.
really
Depends
have
on what
any-
you're smoking.
Yeah, I mean, there are different grades. It's
Right?
stunning what's
And
going
they
on
don't
these
really
days.
have any way to test for
There is no
impairment.
roadside breathalyzer for marijuana. There are DREs, drug recognition experts, which we think there need to be a lot more of, especially with legalization coming. There are more people being killed that have marijuana in their system now than are under the influence of alcohol in New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut. Now, of course, just because you're tested positive for marijuana doesn't mean you're impaired, but the chances are there. So we're seeing more fatally injured drivers with marijuana in their system than are considered.
Because we don't know how recently they've had the marijuana. It could have been a week ago.
For 30 days, yeah.
Right.
And do they also drink at the same time? Because I've heard that really impacts.
Yeah, we eliminated the crossover category. You know, we
that's
just
huge.
looked at those who had only marijuana or only alcohol in the system. The combo plans we didn't look at. There are a lot of them. And, of course, that leads to a greater level of impairment.
Wow.
So we're not driving. So therefore,
Right, yeah.
Marketing works. You want proof that marketing works?
Yeah.
I went to the liquor store yesterday thinking, what am I going to, something a little different and fun for
Right,
News
right.
on the Rocks. And Robert Sinclair Jr. is coming. This is your 3rd appearance, maybe 4th.
No, third.
3rd.
Yeah.
So it's got to be something special.
Yes.
Not the usual old, run-of-the-mill bottom shelf stuff. So I have something called
Is that what you get us?
Cold Cock
Oh, God.
Oh, good God.
with a fist on it.
That's
Cold Cock whiskey.
That's what I remember
like-
the expression
Belch you
from.
in the face?
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
the implication, isn't it?
Right.
How can you say no to Cold
Jeez.
Cock?
Well,
Well,
I don't know. Let me taste it. and
like
I'll
you're
let you
going to
know.
say no to anything I pour, please.
Exactly.
Cold Cock is aged American bourbon blended with natural herbs, including green tea, hibiscus, ginger, eucalyptus, ginkgo, and others, to create the perfect whiskey finish with no harsh burn. Sounds
whiskey
promising,
and
right?
green tea.
That's a lot of stuff. I
Yeah.
hope it's good.
Look at that.
Let's find out.
You know what's
The sound as
interesting
it
about
cracks
this
open.
is this is part of what we wanted to talk to you about.
Mm-hmm.
We're more and more and more we're hearing about the rise of self-driving cars.
Yes.
And to me, the drunk driving, the smoked up driving alone is enough to recommend to me the self-driving vehicles, because how great would it be to be able to go out, have fun with your friends, get in the car and say, oh, wow, I'm going to lay down in the back seat, take me home.
Push the button. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't require being impaired to need a self-driving car.
Right.
96%
No,
of
right.
crashes, thank you, sir, are the result of driver error.
Right.
So even when they're, straight and narrow, people are messing up and throwing themselves away. So we are cautiously optimistic about self-driving vehicles because of the safety possibilities.
Don't we already have them in a sense when all these new cars have these automatic braking and lane assists and all that stuff?
But they're not foolproof.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the two things
Well, neither
that
are we.
emerge. Yeah, number one, they're not foolproof or 98 proof. But
what proof is this, by the way?
Yeah.
Raise a good question.
that's what
Oh,
is
it does taste like tea.
Does it?
Yeah. It tastes like iced tea.
It says here it's not too sweet. It's too sweet.
It's
It's sweet.
Yeah.
It's sweet. It's good.
70 proof. Close.
35%
70 proof?
alcohol. Not bad.
It
Yeah.
doesn't taste like 70 proof. It tastes like tea.
It's fine. It's fine. But you're right. It tastes like tea.
It's for somebody who wants to get beaten up in the face, but feel like they just had a glass of tea.
with that minty breath.
Right. You want to be cold cocked with the
It-
sweet little aftertaste.
It's a
It
good
tastes
summer
like
drink.
it would leave you with a warm afterglow after consuming. So.
Yeah, that's
well,
true.
we'll know that shortly, won't
Yes,
we
we
now?
will. Yes, we will.
So what is,
Semi-autonomous vehicles. Two things. Like you said, they're not foolproof.
Right.
We've done testing that found that the technologies do not work 100% of the time, and these are the technologies that would be the basis of semi-autonomous vehicles. So we're not there yet. The other thing, and it's very disturbing, we've done surveys of drivers that say that they rely on these technologies at 100% in certain driving situations. If you've got blind spot
working.
alert, it's working
He's
already.
got the warm glow.
28% of drivers say they don't even look over their shoulder or check their mirrors if they have
I
that
don't.
technology.
I
No,
don't-
but this
when they
is
change
like
lanes.
total self-driving cars,
Yeah.
not the one that is. Oh, you're talking.
Semi-autonomous.
Oh,
I'm talking about now.
well, like
Semi-autonomous.
when I put my
Wow.
blinker on,
Right.
and if there's even a guardrail to my left, and I'm making a left turn, it'll go beep, 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 to the point where I just ignore it now. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, some of them
Exactly.
stop
Well-
you from getting over.
Oh, I don't have that, no.
Right, that's lane departure warning and
Mine-
lane control. They all have different
Mine
names.
jams the brake on if I get too close to
Automatic
the person in front,
emergency
and
braking.
it scares the
Yeah.
Jesus out of me.
Has it saved you?
No, it hasn't.
It's more of an
because
annoyance.
It's really annoying because if you're in tight traffic, all of a sudden, I mean, you could be going 15 miles an hour. It'll kick in and go like that, and you're just
And somebody behind you could rear-end you,
scares
too.
the
Exactly.
heck out of you.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then the technologies are such that some will stop the vehicle before having a crash. Others will merely slow it down to lessen the energy of the crash.
Right.
Now, if all cars are on the same system and the same control, then in theory that would work because all the cars would be regulated the same way at the same time.
You're assuming some sort of Big Brother type of control.
Yeah.
That's
The
monitoring
universe
the
looking out for
vehicles
me.
and controlling them.
Cosmic synergy
Yeah.
doesn't exist.
That's way down the road. But
Yeah.
first, we
Yeah.
have to start with the vehicles driving themselves. Then we have to install all that technology to do that kind of remote control to let you know that there's somebody on their cell phone, for example, walking down the street at the corner that you're about to pass who's going to walk out in front of you. That's what they're
The
envisioning.
person on the street on the cell phone walking out from the driver who's on the cell phone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, well, everybody's on the cell
Yeah, I
phone.
know.
Now,
it's
there's
crazy.
also another thing that they have just, I guess it's almost passed in the EU. They have this new legislation that says that all new cars sold in the UK and Europe have to be fitted with devices to automatically stop drivers from going over the speed limit. You know, they're pretty much getting to the point where all the fun of driving,
No, it's right. You're
is
right,
being
though.
taken away. You know, so you'll enter a town and it'll kick in. And I know that they say, well, you can get by it by pumping the gas so
Right,
that if you
stepping
have
on
to,
it real hard.
to accelerate really hard
Right,
if you need to
for a
pass someone.
Yeah.
But
You know, it's interesting. That's being spearheaded by the FIA, the Federación Internacional Automobile,
Right.
which
Ooh, I like
is
the way you
the
said that.
the sanctioning body for Formula One racing. But they're looking at speed more and more these days as a major contributor in serious injuries and fatalities in crashes. To give you some stats, in the United States in 2017, there were 37,133 total fatalities. 9,717 were due to speed. So it's a real phenomenon. Interestingly, at the same time, we're seeing a lot of states deciding to raise their speed limits. And, I sent you some information. 22 states now have a speed limit of 70 miles per hour.
Right.
7 states have a speed limit of 80 miles per
That
hour.
seems
west,
so
right?
strange when you sent me that picture with the sign that says speed limit 80.
But
I've never seen that.
aren't they mostly out west?
Yeah,
where you look
Montana
straight,
and
and you're
Texas.
going like 1,000 miles an hour, and maybe during 100 miles you pass a cow. That's about it.
Well, the Pulaski Skyway's kind of straight.
Have you hit 100 on that?
I have not yet.
Not yet.
I'll bet
But
you have.
It's sort of an interesting thing. Do you have any idea, and I don't mean to just jump you with this, but on the Autobahn in Germany, what their stats are there for accidents?
Their crash rates are much, much less. And there are a couple of reasons for that, and I've got a picture to
Because
illustrate
they're
one
Germans.
of them. Well, they're Germans. They're trained rigorously. The
Yes.
driver training in most of Europe and in general, in Germany in particular, is rigorous. There are, I think, 12 or 13 different stages. They're, in essence, training you how to be race car drivers.
This is what my nephew, who
Yeah.
is Bavarian, and they live over outside of Salzburg, Austria, but they live in Germany. And he said he was shocked by the way they train kids in the United States to drive. He said it's they
a
basically
joke.
just put you behind the wheel.
Yeah, it's
And
a
he
joke.
said he went through so much training under different, and they take you out in bad weather.
Right,
They
and
take
it's
you out
raining.
at night, and it's just constant training and practice and explaining to you and having you show them how you deal with all these different circumstances.
Is that what accounts for the high safety rate on the Autobahn?
Absolutely. That and the road design. And I brought this picture. This is from a New York Times article in March 16th, 2007. I'll show it to the camera first and then pass it to you.
Okay.
And if you look at the road and the roadside, notice how stark everything is. There is nothing around there. It looks
No
like
billboards.
a bomb went off and leveled
Right.
everything that
Yeah,
was
no
around
trees.
there. No trees, no nothing.
It's-
Good
yeah.
reason.
Yeah.
You slide off the road at 100 miles an hour, you don't want trees or poles or guardrails or other things.
Like
to
a
be in
racetrack.
the way. Exactly.
Yeah.
So they have the road designs, and that, German Autobahn was opened up in the mid-30s.
Right.
And the Southern State Parkway was opened up in 1932. And compare the difference. They're vastly different roadways
These are your
in their
people, Lisa.
engineering. And as you're driving along a highway, anywhere in our area, just look at the clutter.
Yeah,
That's
the
by
stuff.
the side of the road.
And people here, we're all over the road. They're very, and I don't know if that's just cultural for them, but I was driving on the Autobahn in October with my daughter, who was shocked at how fast people passed us. It was like she tried to take a picture or video, not possible. But one of the things we noticed was people stay in their lane except to pass, and then
Right.
they go back in.
Yep.
Right.
And because the speed limit doesn't stay that way the whole time, they drop it down when you go through certain areas or certain
Towns,
kinds of roads,
municipalities.
and everybody slows down.
Rigorous
As soon as they
enforcement.
hit that overhead sign that says "time to slow down,"
Yeah.
everybody you don't see anybody speed through that.
I saw the same thing in Italy. However, there
The exact opposite.
Well,
They're
no,
all over the road.
They actually,
They're nuts.
but they kept to the same keep right philosophy, unless you're passing.
Right.
Everybody obeyed that. Now
Yes.
they would cut into you with about this much room, about an inch to spare, but they would
Right.
cut in.
Yeah.
And also, and I don't know if you guys have seen this around. This kind of blew my mind. There are these sensors above the highway periodically that will take a picture of you if you're speeding. And I asked someone, could they use these to meter out how fast you're going and do the math between, because everybody slows, they see it and everybody knows where they are,
Right.
Right.
except for the tourists,
Right.
and they slow the hell down and then speed up again.
Right.
But of course you can use them to calculate how fast someone is going,
Right.
and they're doing that now too.
That's what they're doing. They just have been installing that in England as well. You'll see the same exact thing, and boy, and people respond to it there too. They slow down because they know they're being measured, because you never see a cop on the side of the highway. If you get out into the countryside in England, you don't ever see a cop, but they're watching you
Yeah. They're looking at you.
all the time.
And it's interesting you mentioned Germans and then the Italians. When I mentioned doing this segment with you to our chief counsel, and she travels to Europe all the time, especially Italy, governors on vehicles, speed governors on vehicles. She said, the Germans and Italians will never go for that. So, it's a cultural
well, that's
Probably
the interesting thing.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? I mean, I guess on the Autobahn, they're just going to not have the limiters in effect in the areas that you can go as fast as you want.
Well, that article I passed around was from what year? 2007. And it was an article about the proposal to put speed limits on the Autobahn. And there's a very telling paragraph.
So 12 years ago, have they gotten around to it?
No. But they wanted to do it because of global warming. And they're saying, vehicles going much faster are spewing more pollutants.
Yeah.
But there was a telling paragraph here. And oh boy, please let me find it. Few things are closer to the German heart than the freedom to drive like Michael Schumacher, the fabled Formula One champion. Rule-bound and risk-averse Germans regard driving on the Autobahn at face-peeling speeds as close to an inalienable right.
Yeah.
And I don't know that there were ever speed limits imposed. I think there are speed limits on some sections of the Autobahn.
Yeah, there are.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's 7,500 miles in length, and I'm sure most of it is still speed free.
I still have this sensibility that part of the reason it works for them is they're just culturally very different than any place else. They're just this is the way we do it. We follow the rules, and when we're supposed to slow down, we slow down. Whereas here we'd be like, what the heck, If I'm going 100 here, I'm going to go 120 there. What are they going to do?
We are rugged individuals in this country.
We are, and they are
There's
in
us
Italy
versus
as
the rest
well.
of the world.
They're in and out of, especially the motorcycles, the little bikes in Italy.
They
scare the shit out of you. I've had those guys whip around me inside tunnels. It's
like a bicycle messenger in New York City.
Right, exactly.
The same thing. So
a little faster.
We in this country, our speed limits are arbitrary. They're set by municipalities. They are set by various legislators and governing bodies.
Right.
And there is a move in New Jersey and other places, but Declan O'Scanlan, who's the head of the Assembly Transportation Committee in New Jersey, is pushing this plan using what they call the 85th percentile. I'm sure you're nodding your head because I'm sure you've certainly heard about this.
Of course he knows it.
The point at which
Robert Sinclair.
I'm glad. Thank goodness.
And that is the speed at which 85% of the vehicles are driving.
Past a given monitored point. Yes.
Okay. So you'll have 15% that are speeding beyond that. And I don't know if I'm even doing the math right, but essentially they're saying that the idea is don't set the speed limit because, the mayor thinks it should be 25 miles an hour and people feel like they're doing 50, and they should because the road accommodates it. Use the actual speed minus, the top speeds.
But that's like saying, all right, if everybody on my block feels free to kill their neighbor's dog, then I guess we'll make that legal because that's what the average person is doing.
But the average person probably is doing something more reasonable. You'll have the speeders, but you'll have the average person who is
So what is
respectful.
the average speed then? Is it above the speed limit?
Probably,
the 85th
right?
percentile, yes.
If it's but I mean, if 85% of the people are traveling at a certain speed, do we know how much over the speed limit that is on New Jersey highways?
That's a good question. Part of the problem and what we think should be done is an engineering study. Because it's not just the 85th percentile. Will the roads accommodate
Will the roads sustain it? Of course.
Yeah, and again, the same thing. A lot of these roads have clutter next to them. So we believe engineering studies are the best way, one of the best ways, to determine the speed on a particular road. Now we're doing computer modeling. We're monitoring the speeds at a given point. We're looking at the highway, the layout of the highway, and any clutter. If somebody slides off in a rainstorm, will they run into anything? The unfortunate thing is, and we did a study, a survey of traffic engineers and asked them, how do they go about it? And most of the time it's what the legislature says needs to be done. And we think that engineering studies are the best way. And most of the engineers we talked to didn't know about engineering studies. They didn't know about the computer programs that exist that can model traffic on a certain configuration of roadway and what would happen if speeds were raised to a certain point. So, there's most of the time it's political considerations that are lowering speed limits, but also what practice might be in the 85th percentile as far as raising speed limits. Now, a lot of time it's being done to enhance mobility.
Right.
We can get to where we want to go more quickly.
I'm going to enhance my mobility by jamming my foot on the gas.
Yes, you know, like one of the...
That's what I do.
In the article here, it was talking about one gentleman who, I forget what two cities he was driving from. He said he could do it in 2 hours. Hamburg to Berlin in 2 hours, Mr. Schneider said.
Wow.
That requires driving an average of 87 miles per hour.
Oh, but that's like nothing on the Autobahn.
Yeah, right, yeah.
You better not be in the express lane if you're going 87.
Exactly. You get to where you're going much more quickly, which I think a lot of people like the idea of. You know, I'm not spending all day and all night on the highway. But we're seeing the number of vehicles increase in this country, and particularly in our city, daily almost.
Is that right?
Yeah.
There are more drivers in the city now than there used to be because there's so many fewer lanes of traffic now.
Absolutely.
With all these pedestrian...
Well, that's why it seems like there's traffic jams 24 hours a day. You know, there's 1.9 million registered vehicles in the city of New York. There's been an additional 150,000 passenger vehicles registered over the past 5 years.
And how many coming in from outside?
Well, that too, but I'm talking about registered in the city of New York. Just registered in the city of New York. And then there's been an additional 52,000 for hire vehicles,
right.
The Ubers and Lyfts of the world.
Right.
At the same time, we've seen a lessening of capacity due to bike lanes and construction and all those sort of things. Mm-hmm. So it's really crowded all the time. When somebody in the media calls me and say, we want you on the other side of the city, I say, okay, it's between 10 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. because that's the window. Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to be in traffic.
Wait, the window to drive in the city is between 10 a.m.
and 1:30 p.m.
Because I've gotten stuck in plenty of awful traffic between 10 a.m. and 1:30 p.m.
He's just saying on average because that's when they seem to mostly be going places.
You're in the CBD, you know, here in Lower Manhattan.
CBD, excuse me? How did you know?
Yes.
The Central Business District.
What's your CBD?
Yes. Oh, my God.
We want the driving version.
Yes, the Central Business District.
Yeah.
Not the fun oil.
No, not that.
So I have a question for you about, and we're going back to the self-driving cars.
Okay.
Do they have any capacity to sense that the road may not be as safe? Can they tell when it's icy or wet, or if the road is unnaturally curved at some point? Do they know when to pull back speed-wise?
You've been called that.
They might know about weather conditions, but will they be able to determine if there's ice on the road? I don't think so.
That's the question, because are they feeling the road, or are they just looking at AccuWeather?
Will they see a pothole?
Right,
that might be a better question.
Right, so that's the other thing.
Yeah.
I have to interject. You mentioned potholes.
Yeah.
Did you guys see the story?
Which
one?
About the guy who was so mad at his town for not fixing the potholes. They were around for a year, 2 years. He complained, went to the council meeting, something happened. So he took a can of spray paint and he spray painted a penis and the rest of the male genitalia around the various potholes. Guess what? The next day, fixed.
That's a can-do guy.
You're going to tell me he was arrested for vandalizing city property or something.
He's become a local hero. They call him not Banksy, but Wanksy.
That's very funny.
Well, I saw a story on the news about a kid in Detroit. I think it was Detroit. He was filling the potholes with dirt. Just dirt. He was going out and filling.
There's a lot of that in Detroit.
So here's one more question that adds into this whole thing about driving. Have you seen any of the studies that talk about how millennials are just not driving as much?
Yes.
It's really kind of wild. They say almost half of consumers they surveyed do not enjoy most of the time they spend driving. The numbers are starkest for millennials. More than half of adults between the ages of 22 and 37 say a car is not worth the money spent on maintenance, and they'd rather be doing something other than driving. So they're using Uber. I mean, part of it has to do with insurance costs,
Absolutely.
the cost of a car, maintaining a car, paying for... What's that going to do? I mean, between the Ubers of the world, the self-driving cars, is it like the whole dream that we had as kids was, I can't wait to get my license so I can get out of the house. They don't care anymore.
That's true. And you
Especially
mentioned...
the girls, I've noticed. Like most of my daughter's friends, they're like A lot of them. I mean, in college, she's 21. A lot of them don't have driver's licenses.
The cost is very high.
Thank God.
You mentioned insurance. That's probably the biggest one. And they say that they can go anywhere they need to go virtually. They can see their friends on,
That's the other
on a
thing.
tablet. Or
They don't have to actually
phone.
go out. Oh,
Yeah.
that's kind of creepy.
Yeah, we're creating a bunch of
That's
you're
the
not
beginning
homebound,
of the end.
moribund
Right.
people.
You're not seeing the world. You're not
Exactly.
interacting
Well, you
face
can
to
see
face.
the world from the back of an Uber.
You can. Yeah, that's true.
But it's very expensive. We do studies every year called Your Driving Costs, and we look at the cost of various levels of vehicles, small, compact, and up to big luxury vehicles, and it works out to about 52 cents a mile on average to be a vehicle owner. Multiply that by 12 to 15,000 miles a year. It's a significant financial commitment, and
that
that's
kid
just
can't
the
afford.
vehicle, maintenance and tires. That doesn't include insurance and
However,
tolls.
Really?
There
Yeah.
is one, to me, the very, very best value as a driver is AAA. And I'm not saying that to
Not
stroke
because
you. I'm
I'm here.
saying that because I can't even begin to tell you how many times I've called AAA when I've gotten a flat tire or a broken, because I drive in the middle of the night to get to work.
Right.
And I've made sure that my kids all have AAA cards because
good.
it's the only thing that's actually affordable when it comes to owning a car and trying to take care of
It's
your kids and yourself.
A very valuable service. I won't tell you how many green rooms at TV studios I've been in and met famous people who would tell me stories of how when they turned 16, their father gave them a AAA membership when they got their license.
All my
Janice
kids,
Ian,
yeah.
Peter Fonda. They told me that they were AAA members as soon
Janice
as they
Ian
started.
got hers at what year?
17.
Of course. Can I confess that
Yes.
I have been a AAA member since I got my first license, but then I left you.
Oh.
What?
And you went to someone else?
I went to someone else.
Is there someone else?
And
I went to
Yeah.
my, well, sure, insurance companies.
Yeah.
Your car insurance very often will offer it.
Yes.
And I did that.
And you were sorry.
How'd it work
It
out?
was a big mistake.
Yeah.
I broke down on the other side of the Holland Tunnel on the Jersey side. It was about 4 degrees out, and I called the company. I'm like, oh yeah, here it is. Let me try
It's like a Tuesday morning, and they said, we'll be there Friday.
Yeah, exactly. They called some driver, and I'm in Jersey City. They called somebody out from the other side of Queens who said it would be about 6 hours before he'd get to me. I'm like, so I called up AAA the very next morning, and I've been back ever
Re-signed.
since.
Yeah, it's really astonishing to me that I can blow out a tire as frequently as I do.
We have to talk about
Yeah,
that.
there might be a problem beyond
Please
that.
continue.
And man, it's no time at all. These guys come and help me out, whether it's to put the donut on or in some cases with no donut in the car.
Yeah, no
they
spare.
have flatbedded me back to,
Can't you
the
put your own
paradise of New
donut on?
Jersey.
Didn't your father show you how to put a donut on the car?
No, my dad.
I'll show you.
My dad said, "Let the man take care of that."
Yeah.
I had
Hey,
an old
Patty,
school
a
dad.
AAA
Scary.
membership.
Right, that's what he did.
Yeah. Well, we are rapidly approaching 60 million members.
Wow.
When I started this job 19 years ago, we were at 51.
It's because of you.
Well, I would like to think that.
Of course it is.
But the growth is continual, and we have like a 95% renewal rate. And so it's...
But aren't the
it's-
demographics working against you? What Patty was saying before about the millennials not wanting to drive?
Indeed. And in fact, I guess it was about 10 years ago, we tried to solve that by sponsoring a stock car race team. Yeah, we thought it will bring in all the
this'll
young
do it.
people by having AAA plastered across
Oh, yeah.
a stock
I saw
car.
those
How'd that do
cars.
for you?
Not too well.
No.
Many millions of dollars and
Well,
didn't lead
Radio
to
ads.
You know
Buy
what?
radio
It
ads.
Yes,
goes-
that's what I've been trying to tell
I'm telling you.
It
Well-
goes back to the fact that while AAA tends to be incredibly affordable and like the best thing you could sign up for, everything else about owning a car
Is
is
expensive.
insane.
Yeah.
And
It
I
really
see
is.
that with my own kids.
Well,
It's
AAA
like-
is affordable. You're right, but that depends, I guess, on if you have to cut back and you're like, "Geez, that's $130 for a family, right? Something like that for a family membership. Like, we could take our chances. I'm about to advise. I think it's a stupid move to cut that protection, but that's one of the droppable things. If you need insurance, you can't drop, or you're going to get in serious trouble.
And you better not cut back on it. You know, we hear a lot of people who are cutting back on, especially the uninsured, underinsured motorist provision of their insurance policies.
You recognize the value when you're like me, stuck in 4-degree weatder.
Yeah.
Now I have some people who are blood relations. who have how would I put a checkered driving record.
Assigned risk pool.
I can't begin to tell you the amount of money we spend on insurance for these individuals.
Well,
really like
these young individuals.
You'd better have it, because I occasionally stop in the hallway and talk to the manager of our insurance department, and he tells me stories, not just of vehicle insurance, but homeowners insurance in general.
Sure, because they tie it to your...
Exactly. Well, if
you
you lump them together, your life, your home, your car, you'll get a significant discount.
Well, frequently, if you have someone with a spotted record, they will say, okay, you want to, sometimes they'll say, okay, we're not going to cover you anymore. And so you'll say, okay, well, I'll move it over to here. And they say, sure, we'll take you, but you have to move your homeowners. They will ask that you bundle it so that they'll say, okay, we'll take you on, but you got to move your homeowners over to us. And that's what happened to us.
Yeah.
Well, I have an idea.
Yes.
I want to run past you guys. Here's how we can change
Force the children out of my house?
That'll happen soon enough.
Yeah.
If they're 35, they're not going.
No, they're not. We do, all drivers everywhere across the country, we unite and we do a one-day strike in which we all obey the exact speed limit.
Ew.
To prove the point that it's ridiculous. To prove the point, if you drive, let's say the 25 miles an hour, the speed on Route 22, U.S. Highway 22 through Easton and Phillipsburg, you are going to cause such a colossal backup.
Life will come to a screeching halt.
It will. If we all follow the limit for the day, we'll realize how impractical these speed limits are.
Really?
And then we'll make the transition to a reasonable. I am positive, because we're going to be bonkers out of our minds one day doing what the government tells us we should do. Let's all be good, obedient children for the day and see what kind of hell is raised. I know it's going to be tough, isn't it?
I'm not sure I can do that either. What I say. But that's an interesting idea, Wayne.
It's like the Uber strike that's coming up.
Yes, tomorrow.
Let's do a speed strike. Yeah. We all follow the speed limit to show how ridiculous it typically is.
Or we all break it like exponentially. No.
You first.
Probably not a good idea.
Robert Sinclair Jr., we love having you in.
Yes.
I'm sorry I gave you crappy alcohol. That'll be better next time.
Oh, I like it.
I mean, it's fine if you like sweet, but
it's tea.
It
tastes like tea. If you put it on ice, but you can you feel the bite of the what's the herb that's in there?
They got ginger and eucalyptus.
You feel the ginger,
hibiscus.
Yeah, you feel the ginger. It's like got a nice little bite to it, but it doesn't taste like whiskey.
When it's 95 degrees, I'll have a party at my house. I'll put this on ice. We'll enjoy it then.
Thank you.
Very much so.
For now, meh.
Looking for
meh. Meh.
The News Conversation Podcast. News on the Rocks.